We are here at the Red Vic Peace Cafe in San Francisco, and I'm with Gail James. She's the Kansas coordinator with U.S. Women Connect, and Diana Goodrow is the Ventura County coordinator for the California Women's Agenda. So why don't you both start off by talking about the work you do on the ground, grassroots organizing that we hardly ever hear about in the national media. Gail, why don't you start? What's going on in Kansas that we never hear about?
There's a lot going on in Kansas. You know, what you hear about going on in Kansas is extreme right-wing takeover. Since our Democratic governor left the state, we are facing very serious inroads by extremists and extremism. And it extends not only to elected office, but to larger issues such as what should a school curriculum be? What's the value of science education versus creationism? How can we fund rural education when agribusiness is experiencing great downturn in their revenues? And so you have really pulls into the 21st century. Living out the earlier progressive history of Kansas is now turned into a book called What's the Matter with Kansas, which tells us that gradually the inroads of religion and regressivism has taken over. So our job right now is to say, no, under the radar, beyond that headline news, are many, many women, many, many organizations that are working for in that moderate to progressive spectrum, to say we care what happens in our schools and in the curriculum. We care about rural America as well as the urban centers in Kansas. It's not just one big farm. Kansas has really wonderful contributions. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to organize all of the organizations that work for women's issues and women's causes, from education to training to science to health and reproductive freedom issues, getting women to run for office. So the U.S. Women Connect is an organization, a network that is trying to say, let's have all the organizations at least connect to each other, rather like the Olympic rings. They're all individual, separate colors, separate nations, but they converge at certain points and they come together. That's what we like to see, is a coalition, a collaborative effort by all the organizations so that we could know each other. So that's what we do, is we look at National Organization for Women, Organization of University Women, Business and Professional Women, both urban and rural chapters. Zonta International does great work. There's a new organization I'm proud to report, which is called True Blue Women, who are saying we do not want to be a red state. We have many women who are interested in moderate to progressive issues. They are really out there. They have gotten 500, 600 members practically overnight.
And are you finding women who maybe weren't political before, who really want to get involved?
Yes.
In Kansas where you are?
Yes, that's very, very true. That's really the good news. That's very, very exciting, because they're not only traditional Democratic women, but also women who are finding a voice, who are some are professional, some are not, some are soccer moms, some are homemakers, some are suburban, some are rural. We find the issues override their strata, where they are in society. And so, yes, they are standing forward. However, the U.S. Women Connect mission is to bring them into work together so that we can say, well, when the issues arise, when legislative agendas are such that they're fighting child care, we can stand forward and say, no, we need to support child care legislation so that women can go out to work, or if they wish to, or that their children can have support for their children before they are ready for school. This is very important in rural areas, for example. The inner city has been neglected. The degradation of these inner cities. You see, however, one of the things that's under the radar is this new initiative by our Republican candidates, who are supported by these Koch brothers in Wichita, who are very, very wealthy. They are philanthropic to the extent that they fund right-wing causes. We are very concerned about that they will now they're buying the state of Kansas. So we're doing what we can. We cannot fight that necessarily because we do not have funds. That's one of the major issues in Women on the Ground organization, is funding. But we have women power, we have passion, we have a lot of expertise, a lot of commitment. And so what we're looking at, down ticket races, school board elections, legislative elections, other municipal campaigns, to see who are the candidates that we can support that are often bipartisan, but as long as they're moderate, as long as they accept women's right to choose, then we can support them wherever they fit in the party. So that's what U.S. Women Connect is doing in the state of Kansas. We're looking at leadership for women, get them ready to be candidates, train them. We do have some experts who are willing to do that on a gratis basis so that we can get women the kind of support they need. And also, in addition to that, many women's organizations that we're connected with now are looking at the economic self-sufficiency of women, which means several things. Help girls stay in school, give them the kind of support and motivation they need, get support for working women so they have childcare and transportation, and also when they decide not just job training but career training, to look at a lifetime of work that they can have the kind of training they need to have a career. So we feel we have very worthy goals. It's hard work, it's draining, and it's exhausting in a way, but the rewards, like everything, are there because it's very, it's motivating. When you hear the stories of women and what the odds that they've fought against, it's fantastic. So we're really on the road to establishing a new pathway in Kansas for women, despite a serious downturn in the political structure and the political momentum in Kansas. So we're doing everything we can. If you're worried about Kansas, just stay tuned.
And Diana, what's happening on the ground in Ventura County in terms of grassroots organizing among women?
Well, there's a lot of grassroots organizing among women in Ventura County because we have a large population of immigrant women in our county, a lot of agricultural workers in our county who work jobs that most Americans will not do, primarily because they're low paying and difficult. We have a great deal of unemployment in Ventura County. I've been working primarily with building coalitions and trying to organize a group around the 12 principles from the Beijing platform. We formed a collaborative organization called the Women's Forum, Ventura County Women's Forum Collaborative, where we have put on forums for women based on the Beijing platform for action, and we did it with mostly by partnering with all the women's organizations, the progressive women's organizations in Ventura County, and we've joined together to work together because we realize that unless we all work together, we are not going to move forward. I think that's one of the weaknesses of the women's movement, is that in many movements is there's so many splinter groups, so many individual groups that bringing them together under one title with one mission is difficult, and we work very hard to bring a group together. We're now becoming our own 501c3, and we've been very successful in partnering with universities, with local groups, many of the local groups that are in unions, non-union groups, immigrant groups, environment groups, AUW, you name it. We're trying to partner with them, and that is really very important. If we don't do that, their energy is dissipated in so many different directions, and of course a great deal of the problem is economic. Today people are frightened. They're frightened for their future, they're frightened for their country, and I think that's because of that fear. The right wing has been able to undermine a great deal of the work. They play to that fright, and people are afraid of losing their jobs, they're afraid of speaking up, they're afraid of organizing, and we're living in that kind of era today that was a precursor to Nazi Germany and the Depression. We're coming out of a small depression of our own, and it's becoming very obvious that the way to get control and have power in this country is to play to the lowest common denominator, and often it's based on fear. It really worries me because I look at the comparison with how Nazism rose in Germany and what our economic state is, and what fundamentalism, which is what that was how it was used in Germany.
Hold that thought. In the second section, we'll talk about what it will take to change all of this.